Well, the reality of the real estate market here in Surrey, BC, and the Fraser Valley, and pretty much across the entire country, is that it peaked back in very early March. But at that time, there were variables like 3% or less interest rate holds, and the fact that stats often lag because they're usually not reported for 30 days, and even then, sales can not be reported in a timely manner and not make it into the stats package. So if the market really did peak back in March, as I predicted, if I don't say so myself, my assumption is that that will show up in this month's statistics package from the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board. And since the stats were just released, that makes this the Surrey Report. And we're going to do a deep dive into all of the market stats. But first, here is my team reporting on this month's stats for the area of Surrey combined.
In May of 2022, we had 194 sales of detached homes, and that is compared to 2021 where we had 600, almost 3 times as much. Our benchmark price for May of 2022 is $1,849,400 for a detached home, and that is a 2.1% decrease month over month and a 27.3% increase year over year.
Looking at our townhouse market, we have seen 227 sales in the month of May. That is down substantially from 445 sales for the same period last year. Our benchmark price is $942,500. That is down 2.9% month over month, but still up 28.7% year over year.
And in condos, benchmark price is around $581,000. Now that's a 1.2% decrease month over month, but overall it is a 28% increase year over year.
All right, those are the numbers, but kind of just the tip of the iceberg because Surrey Combined reports on the City of Surrey proper. And because this is the Surrey Report, we're going to do a way deeper dive into the numbers so you can see what's happening in your real estate market here in the City of Surrey. But before I do, and as always, if you would like to stay up to date on the market, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you are a complete stats geek who actually likes this type of info, please make sure to click the like button to help me get this information out to other stats geeks who would then be able to better determine how to proceed with their transactions, whether they live in the City of Surrey or, well, no, it's actually only for the City of Surrey. And of course, if you don't have an agent, but you are thinking about making a move here in the Lower Mainland, specifically Surrey or the Fraser Valley, you can book a call with me right now down below in the description with just a few simple clicks so we can put a plan together for you.
All right, I'm just sitting here editing this video and it is a half hour of statistics. So I just want to let you know, if you want to get to the conclusion, jump to about the 24-minute mark because this is going to be about 20-25 minutes of general stats. And if you're not into that, just skip to the end because you're going to want to hear the conclusion.
And now let's get into a tour of the statistics that have just been released by the Fraser Valley Board. And just so you understand, when I do pop into my system every day, this is what comes up. This is all of the Fraser Valley total in all property types. And it opens up into, as you can see here, benchmark price. So you will see that the Fraser Valley Board did actually peak. I think, well, it did peak in March. It showed up a little bit in the stats in April, and now it has just come down, I mean, fairly substantially over the last little bit. But what do you care about? Why are you here? We are going to go into the City of Surrey. So that's going to include the areas of North Surrey. It is going to include Surrey, or let's call it the middle of Surrey. It's also going to include Cloverdale and lastly South Surrey White Rock. Now the only problem with adding South Surrey White Rock is it does contain the actual city of White Rock, where the stats that we report in the Surrey Report at the beginning of this video are just Surrey proper, so White Rock is excluded. Now to look at this on a 1-year curve, you're going to see these great increases that we saw a year ago. For instance, this is all property types. North Surrey was at 640 and now North Surrey is at 930. So you saw these crazy increases. But who looks at all property types? Absolutely nobody does. All property types together bunched up make no sense whatsoever. So let's pop into the detached home market, because that's likely what most of you here are interested in. And obviously now we're seeing the lines. These lines are all really clumped together. I kind of can't believe it, except for obviously South Surrey. South Surrey started off a year, or sorry, this isn't a year ago. This is beginning of January 2021 at almost 1.5 million. Currently sitting well over $2 million still, but we have now seen, this is what I want to kind of exactly what's going on. So March, we saw 1.241. Then it actually increased by only $8,000, but it still increased in April to 4.9, and now we've seen the drop. That drop is all the way down. Well, we were talking $16,000. Now that's not significant on a $2 million price point or a South Surrey home, but it is starting to show the downturn. North Surrey 1.7, Surrey proper, or sorry, I should say North Surrey 1.75, Surrey proper 1.8, and then Cloverdale 1.85. So let's say those are about a $50,000 spread each. That spread seems to have, well, no, look at this. Believe it or not, wow, I actually can't believe this. Cloverdale dropped $50,000 and Surrey proper stayed even, which to me is kind of nuts. And then everything really dropped over the last little bit here. North Surrey went from, again, 2 months ago at 1.75, almost 1.76. So it's dropped $50,000. If we go back here again, we're going to look at Surrey. It was at 800 or 1.8, sorry. Man, I can't even get my numbers straight here. So it's dropped $50,000. And then Cloverdale from almost 1.85 has dropped $100,000. I almost can't believe that. I'm not seeing it except for the odd sale out there. I guess that is the problem right now. It is the number of sales that are out there. So just so you can see what the market has done, I'm going to zoom this out to 5 years so you can see how absolutely insane this market has been. And you do now see the big swing, specifically out in Cloverdale. You can see that kind of big downturn. But here's the part that people don't really get. You did have a downturn specifically in South Surrey from, well, this is the peak here in 2018, maybe even 2017 in detached market. You actually had a downturn, and we didn't even recover from that downturn into halfway through the pandemic. And then things kind of went crazy from there. But Cloverdale is the thing that looks like it's hurting the most at the moment. But that does kind of make sense because Cloverdale is one of those areas that shot up the fastest. So what we are seeing is the areas that did shoot up the fastest are seeing the biggest and fastest downturn now that the market's going. Now, again, we are still in detached. I'm going to pop over here into median price. Median price is swinging. It's a very jumpy line, as you can see, so it's not really an indicator I like to use, but absolutely everything maxed out in median price in February. Benchmark price is a bit more of a lagging indicator. Average price, again, the peaks in every single market seem to be February. The big drop, particularly in South Surrey, was January was okay. February was the crazy peak. And then, I mean, you're talking like over a $200,000 or a 10% drop in South Surrey White Rock in just that 1 month. But it was only also up for just that 1 month. So something to consider there. And now we're coming down on a bit of a smoother landing. North Surrey is taking the biggest hit right now since March. I know this is all kind of compressed and a little tough to see, but we are seeing the downturn basically across the entire market. Well, why is that? Well, it's number of sales. Number of sales. I'm going to see if I can illustrate this better. Number of sales over the past 2 years. This is lockdown right here. See this big kind of trough? Number of sales skyrocketed. Crazier than almost ever before. I mean, we kind of had this late 2017 surge, but number of sales absolutely plummeted when lockdown happened, and then absolutely skyrocketed since then. We are now back in a spot where we are getting equal number of sales per month as we did in 2019. So 2019 was an extremely down year, relatively speaking, to the surrounding 10 years around it. 2018, 2019 was really not good in the market. If you're watching this from somewhere else like Toronto, 2017 was the bad year. But here in Surrey in the Fraser Valley, it was actually 2019. But it's the number of sales that are dropping off. And this is what you're going to hear in the news. Sales are down 50% from this time last year. Well, yeah, but they were never before seen at that high level at that point. So Cloverdale, well, seems to be kind of on the bottom, but we would expect that it's going to have less sales than Surrey proper. Surrey proper is a much bigger area with more properties, so you're going to have way more sales in those areas. Look at the fall off, though, in South Surrey, White Rock. In South Surrey, well, I guess it's just as bad in Surrey proper. You went from having, again, this is only detached, from having 173 sales in March, and now we're looking at 69 sales. So the activity in the market is what's coming off dramatically. So that's the number, because prices have only come off, say, 5 to 7% in some areas. You're going to see the news pick up on that stat rather than pick up on prices, because the prices aren't yet telling them the story that they want to tell of the negative doom and gloom. So that's number of sales coming to the market. Prices all trending downwards. Sales slashed. Now, prices are trending down. Sales are slashing down, right? But why is that? Well, realistically, interest rates are affecting things. But the number of new listings compared to where they were, these two are almost inverse graphs. If you really compare them, you end up with all of these listings that came to the market mid last year. And then by the time we hit summer last year, which is right down in this category, we saw almost no listings. And then in December, like the lowest amount of listings we've ever seen. And coupled with the highest amount of demand, absolutely went crazy. So the number of new listings coming to the market also did. Now, this may actually be the redeeming factor and a little bit of savings is new listings are also now down again. So there's not as much new coming to the market as there was in March. So that could be signaling that the biggest downswing in the market so far has already happened and not a lot of new properties are coming. Because the market is starting to get tough, there's a very good chance that all the people that were thinking about doing something are probably just going to stay put, and that will actually help keep the market up a little bit higher than if everybody still really, really wanted to move. But what do new listings do? They add to active listings. So that's the next thing we got to look at, and that's where you're going to really notice the difference. Now, let's talk about what happened here. So 2017, 2018 was the big slowdown. So you'll see that's actually where the most amount of listings were in the market in each one of these categories. Again, if you missed it, South Surrey is the orange. Red up top here is Surrey. Surrey kind of proper, that middle section, including Sullivan and Panorama, Newton. North Surrey is Guildford, Fraser Heights, a few other spots. And then Cloverdale obviously is Cloverdale, Clayton. So what you're seeing now is all of those properties with less sales, but more properties that have come to the market. Even though new listings are coming down, we are seeing listing inventory creep up. But to this point, there were still more properties on the market this time last year than now, right? So we were still in a better position this time last year than now. The difference is, and why prices aren't going up anymore, is last year interest rates at this point in time were like 2.2%. And this year they're 4.5% or more. Sales to active ratio, it's basically a consumption rate, and the lower this gets, the harder the market gets. This is tied to the other video that I do each month, or that I'm going to be doing each month. I've already done one that talks about months of inventory on the market. So this is all trending really hard into probably balanced market territory this month. And I mean, original sale price. So this is if I list my property for 100%, what am I going over and below? And this really shows the lunacy of the market over the last little bit and how absolutely crazy it's been. This line right here, which is only 1-2 bars up, is 100%. So this is your full list price. Well, since January 2021, every property pretty much averaged, except for South Surrey, which is a higher price point, has averaged over the asking price. And in Cloverdale, the average, or sorry, this is the median. This is the median. Let's switch to average just so we can see. The average, Cloverdale shows the same thing. the average in the asking price was more than 112% for 2 months in a row. So that's why it went crazy. And now that interest rates have tightened up and the market has tightened up, that's going to show. And we're finally now, well, if you look at Surrey, believe it or not, Surrey is still trading over 100% of list price. So, well, you could end up with a whole lot of property still selling over asking at that point. Price per square foot, I don't really care about. It's detached homes. They don't really matter. More it does in condos. And then we're going to see days on market, and I like days on market average. And this is where you're going to see a lot of stuff kind of coming up. The days on market for, look at this, for instance, in Cloverdale, the average days on market was 9, right? Last year in April. The average days on market in Cloverdale just in March was 8. So that's why you saw Cloverdale being the highest price at that time. It was absolute insanity. And now it's starting to come back into the 20 days on the market. So guess what? You might actually take some time. You might actually take 2 or 3 weeks to sell on the market now. I know, heaven forbid, right? So now that was only detached. I will breeze through the next two a little bit quicker for you. I'm going to pop into HPI in apartments. It is for sure trending down. We're going to say it all peaked again. It shows like it's peaking in March. There was some adjustments, I will say. Every once in a while, the HPI gets adjusted, and that will change all of the stats previously. So that can happen. But we are seeing the downturn. These numbers off to the side here that you're seeing are still the percentage year over year. So until those start going south, the market's still showing that it's fairly strong. Next year at this time, I'm sure they won't be as nice in numbers. But look at this median price. White Rock, South Surrey White Rock, $733 back in February, and this month it's coming out at $581. Now, does that mean the same property sells for less? No, it just means there could be more selling on the lower side. Average price, again, peaked for most places. Well, February in South Surrey and peaked in April in Cloverdale. But let's say, for instance, Cloverdale, you're looking at a $642 price just last month average. And currently, that can't be right, can it? $642. The average price in Cloverdale condos came down $100,000. I almost don't believe it. So this is why I don't like average price, because obviously I've seen no property selling for $100,000 less, particularly in condos. But obviously the lower end ones are the ones that are selling, because again, in that same time period, the average price, the benchmark price only dropped, let's call it $15,000. Number of sales may determine how that happened. North Surrey has just dropped off the map, so that's likely because of investors buying in Wally. It's still the most amount of activity, still the most amount of sales, but compared to where it was 225 back in March, currently 126. So it's really showing. I can't believe this, actually. Cloverdale's holding on strong and actually not declining a ton. New listings, Cloverdale's dropping. That's very interesting to see. It does appear that even the amount of new listings coming to the market, even in condos, has topped out kind of in that March window. But active listings, this is the big indicator of exactly where the market's going, right? Look at those active listings just stacked. So that's new listings stacking up on top of each other each month. In North Surrey condos, man, they're really stacking up. So that's one spot I would suggest that you're probably going to start seeing a downward trend in pricing, is probably North Surrey condos at the moment. So that's anybody looking to invest in those pre-sales in Wally right now. Please think twice about that. Sales to actives coming back down to reality. Really good spot to be there. Let's look at this original price. So where's the 100% line? We are now coming under 100%. No, actually we're not. We're only under 100% sales. So the condo market is showing actually really, really strong in relation to the listing price. I do find that we in North Surrey, in those areas, they're still playing the game of under listing by like $100,000. So that's kind of silly. Maybe that's skewing. Well, not maybe. That's totally skewing the numbers. And Price per square foot is much more important. I'm going to do it average here, and it is also trending down. So I'm going to say price per square foot. North Surrey condos, for instance, averaged at $800. This is why I think it's insane that these people are paying $1,100 for the brand new build stuff, but that's besides the point. And then that is actually now trended down $75 a foot. Average days on market, still relatively low. So the condo market is doing one of the best up in North Surrey for sure, but as a whole, the condo market is the best spot to be. And now let's get into townhouses. Townhouses again peaked in March in median price. The April price appears to come down. Yeah, no, it comes down in absolutely every single category. Is this easier if I do it this way? There you go. It looks much more dreadful when I do it that way. Median price going to do much of the same thing, I'm sure. Spiking downwards pretty heavily. South Surrey has a much bigger swings than everywhere else, but North Surrey townhouses aren't looking fantastic. They held out there for a month, but they are dropping as well. So South Surrey peaked at 115, and now they're under $1 million. So you're talking a 15+% decrease in 2 months, and that brings us back to December 2021 pricing. Let's keep going. Average sale price, again, doing the same thing as expected. Held out. South Surrey held out actually really, really well at the peak of the market, but now has come down. The North Surrey market seems to have peaked first, and it is starting to continue to decline. So North Surrey sat up at 929 at one point, is already down to 774 average. Now, again, I don't like averages. Number of sales happening, Surrey turned back up. So there was some positivity in the market there, but everybody else is coming down. And this is, again, the stat you're going to hear about, because last May, we're going to say there was in Surrey 221 townhouse sales. This month, only 104. So the news is going to say 50%, but it's not 50% in price. Just remember that. The number of new listings coming to the market, again, starting to tail off. It appeared like new listings did peak in every category in March. Active listings, however, though, look at that. The listings are just now stacking up month after month on top of each other. And this is what is going to drive down our market as a result of interest rates, just the amount of inventory that's coming to the market. Now, I report on this regularly what the active overall in the marketplace is. Today it's about 5,800. But as that creeps up, once we hit 7,000, 7,500, that's where the buyer's market really begins. So something to consider there, just a ton on the market. Similar now, getting very close in some areas to like lockdown-ish type numbers, or just after lockdown type numbers. And then, well, we're right back into 2018, 2019. So I'm assuming we're going to get into a year for the rest of the year that's not going to be that great. Sales to actives, to me, this doesn't make sense. I'm almost wondering if there's an error. I don't know how you can have 600% consumption. Maybe there's a problem there. But we are cruising back down to 20 and 30%. So that's balanced market territory. Properties are now still in townhouses generally for the month of May, selling over asking price in Surrey and North Surrey, and then under asking price in Cloverdale and South Surrey. Price per square foot, definitely something to consider if you're buying a pre-sale townhouse as well. It is coming down fairly quickly. Let's say, for instance, South Surrey White Rock, 678, currently sitting at 600, and you're going to see days on market start to creep up, but still well below. I mean, the highest days on market here right now is 15 days. So sorry, folks, you got to wait 2 weeks instead. So like, what are we really whining about in our quote unquote down market? It's a down market, but it's not nearly as bad as people were saying. So what does all this mean to me if you're still here at the end of the video? Because that was a long, boring one, but it shows me that the detached market is our toughest market, and it is always the leading indicator. The detached market takes off first, and the detached market slows down first, and then the more affordable thing, townhouses are second for sure, and then third is condos. So mark my words here, condos are still doing really well, but how do we know when the next time to maybe buy a condo is, or the next best time to invest in a condo before we see an upswing? It is exactly when the detached homes start taking off and becoming crazy. Now, I personally don't think that's going to happen again for another 18 months or more. But that's when you will see deals, and that is the best time that you can likely think about or get ready to buy an investment condo. If you're looking to buy or sell just for you and your family's needs, it's not that different than it was before. We are seeing prices adjust completely, but remember that it's going to be the same for your purchase and sale. So who is it going to really affect? At this point, it's not going to affect a ton of people unless you've purchased that property within the last 6 months. And for some crazy reason, you're thinking that now is a good time to move, only 6 months after owning the property. But your plan should always be to get into a property and hold it for 5 years, because my estimation is the next 6 to 18 months is going to be a slow and bumpy ride for all of us here in the industry. And the numbers are pointing in that direction right now. And as we see more interest rates increase, I assume, hey, I might actually get to take a summer off for once. And that's okay, because let's face it, other than 2019, the market has been absolutely insane since 2015. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. And if you like to look at the numbers and see exactly what's gone on and kind of what it all means or where it's headed, please remember to subscribe. Click the like button to help me get this information out to more people, because hey, these are your homes and you should know what you're buying or selling. You can check out my active listings on Instagram, view maybe a playlist before you go, and we'll see you in a couple of days.